Today, 18 fast guys go after 100 grand on the fastest mile of them all. It's the AMA Progressive Insurance U.S. Flat Track Hall of Fame race at Springfield, Illinois. He's racing here today, and we're getting ready to start. Steve Moorhead, the Goosebumps are coming up full bore now.
They sure are. They know that Texas Honda power of Terry Poovey. They don't want him to get a good start and get away, because that Honda is awfully fast.
A very high-tech machine that, of course, Honda brought out to do battle with the Harley-Davidsons, and there are a few of them still hanging around. And
want him to get a good start and get away, because that Honda is awfully fast.
A very high-tech machine that, of course, Honda brought out to do battle with the Harley-Davidsons, and there are a few of them still hanging around. And I call it the Honda because it seems like these guys keep swapping it and somebody different rides it every year, but it's not the same bike.
Terry, you see him, he takes the low line into turn one. He's got the draft, and that's something that the riders do not want to see, is that Honda out front. It'll be interesting to see who can draft by it before the start-finish line. Now's the time to go to work and do the testing.
Joe Kopp running in the number 2 spot right now. Hacker's right there as well, and these guys are swapping positions behind Poovey now. Kopp takes the lead, and that red helmet of Terry Poovey has moved back into 2nd spot.
Joe Kopp, he wants to have something to say about how fast this pace is picked up right at the beginning. Don't forget, is it going to be a tire wear? Are they going to overheat the tires and have a blistering problem? I don't think they're worried about that right now.
Long race, and we're early in it. You can see that the single file conga line is now led once again by Terry Poovey, who moves around Kopp and recaptures the front spot.
Mike Hacker, he's sitting there in 3rd position with Kevin Atherton right behind him. And who would have thought Kevin Atherton would be back racing today?
He still limps noticeably, but when he gets on the bike, he makes it go awful fast. Here's Kopp on the Corbin machine, and Poovey in 2nd position. Gaps are starting to open up a little bit, specifically behind 3rd place Hacker to 4th place Kevin Atherton.
Terry, he was able to draft to the outside and roll right around the outside of Joe Kopp there. Kenny Coolbeth, he's slacking back there in 5th or 6th, and Rich King starting to make his presence known.
Hacker picked up his first Grand National win at Charlotte when the dirt track guys made their debut at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Once again, Poovey and Kopp swapping the lead up front. No one else has been able to take it away from those two guys yet.
But Joe Kopp was not able to draft by before the start-finish line, so that's something he's going to record on whether he wants Terry behind him or in front of him when it comes down to the last 5 laps.
Everybody reaching for the fork tubes and trying to tuck in a little bit. Then they grab the bars and throw it in. Poovey holding on to the lead, and yes, you can see that the Honda power has definitely got something for him here on the big Springfield mile.
Rich King, he's coming up in 4th. He sees what's going on in front of him. He's not going to let them guys get out of touch.
Terry Poovey stretching out a little bit of a gap, but these guys come thundering right up behind him as they throw it into turn 1. And Rich King indeed has moved up into 4th spot around Atherton.
Will Davis, he's starting to make his presence known too. He's right at the end of this lead pack here. You see Rich King there in 4th, then we have Atherton in 5th that'll come into the shot. And right there is Kenny Coolbeth and Will Davis.
Things are starting to stretch out just a little bit among the 18 machines that started this race, but they're all behind Terry Poovey and pretty consistently. Poovey is starting to edge away ever so slightly here. You can see that one by one they're thrashing along. Even Larry Pegram's up there on the 72 bike. You get a glimpse of him every now and then. The one bike we have not seen much of, however, is Chris Carr. Flag has come out in a scary moment that brought a collective groan from the whole crowd here as Kevin Atherton was identified as the fallen rider, but as you can see, he's gotten to his feet, and now it's a collective cheer from the crowd. Meanwhile, the rest of the contenders are lining up for a single file restart, and Steve Moorhead, that was a scary moment.
It sure was. It appeared that Kevin run off into turn 3 and just picked up some oil that someone had laid down on the track and lost both ends of the motorcycle, sliding into the bales.
Fortunately, he is okay, and the rest of the guys now collecting their breath and refocusing on the job at hand. It turned out to be oil from Mike Hacker's bike, and they've gotten it fixed, and he's at the tail end of the field. Off we go, and once again, Terry Poovey gets a great launch.
He sure did, but the riders and mechanics had an 8-minute break there during that red flag period to be able to massage them motorcycles. If a guy felt that he was a little down on his gearing at one end or the other, he was able to make that crucial adjustment to the motorcycle.
Taking the lead for the first time now off the single file restart is Will Davis, who was a contender for the short track, and every time the Grand National guys get on a half mile, he is the man, but he has long said, and everyone has long agreed, that a mile race has eluded a guy with a lot of talent for a long time.
Well, Will's been at this race. He's had this race won. It come down to a last lap and a mechanical failure that cost him a very important Springfield mile win. But before this restart, Will was plagued back in 7th or 8th spot. So this restart really benefited the Maroney Harley-Davidson.
Rich King once again into 4th. Davis takes the lead. Kopp 2nd and Poovey 3rd. That's as far back as Terry Poovey has gotten shuffled for a while.
And before this red flag came out, that Honda seemed like it was set and sailed. No one was able to draft up on him.
And now we see Joe Kopp coming past Davis, but Poovey gets them both going into turn 1 and 2, and he'll lead going down the backstretch. Somebody's off line there and sailing out into the cushion. The lead group now includes Chris Carr, and he benefited tremendously from the single file restart. He was kind of out of it there for a while, and along with Kenny Coolbeth, it is Carr who makes up the front 6.
You can see the white line and going through turns 3 and 4, that the amount of oil that was dropped. That's the oil dry. That's the white line entering that into the racetrack. But Rich King has not really let his presence be known to the front of the pack. He's just stuck there in 4th position.
Just in front of Chris Carr, the man who is the points leader, coming off a win at Peoria. The Prince of Peoria picked up yet another victory at that famous TT. And there are 6 riders in the lead group. Everybody else trying hard to get up there, and they know they have to if they're going to contend for a win here today.
You got your points racers with Kopp, Davis, King, and Carr all right there together. Terry Poovey, he wants the $18,000. He's a money racer.
Larry Pegram on the competition accessories Harley-Davidson is the guy closing the gap now, trying to make it 7th. There's Carr on the number 1 bike, and Rich King on the factory Harley-Davidson. Scott Parker also has a bike tuned by Bill Werner of the Harley-Davidson factory, but he's deep in the field here today. He was not a factor in the short track race, and Parker, struggling in qualifying, has also not been able to get up and race in the front, and the crowd would love to see that.
You see Will picking up a little bit of a head shake right at the end of the back straightaway. When he starts to pick his hand up on the handlebar, the front end starts wobbling.
We're still racing here at Springfield. Hang in there. National Racing is being brought to you by Drag Specialties, your single best source for custom parts and accessories. Welcome back to the Illinois State Fairgrounds and the Hall of Fame race here on America's Fastest Mile. 7 riders make up the lead group. Chris Carr is there. Pegram has made the connection. Out front, however, it's Will Davis leading Joe Kopp, but here comes Terry Poovey again.
The riders, the top 3 riders, they're not really doing anything to slow one another down to where Rich and Chris Carr can utilize any mistakes or them guys racing side by side.
There's King, there's Carr. Kenny Coolbeth is there, and just a little bit further back is Pegram. But up front right now, it's Will Davis on the number 21 bike there, the Maroney's FastHog.com entry.
Will is pretty much winning the runner in there contest. At the end of the straightaway, if anybody's going to leave the gas on the longest and run it in the corner the hardest, it's been Will Davis so far.
3 wins, all on short tracks this season. Will Davis, and now Terry Poovey takes the front position away again. Kopp showing a lot of patience in watching those 2 guys swap the front spot.
He's just trying to figure out his game plan, where he needs to be. They darn sure don't want that Honda leading coming off turn 4 because they haven't been able to draft by it before the start-finish line.
Terry Poovey sets the Honda into the corner, but not until after Will Davis has taken the lead. Kopp again just running in 3rd spot while Davis and Poovey swap backstretch, front stretch lead.
The only strategy Joe or Will can have is to try to be ahead of Terry at the end of the straightaway and put that perfect corner together through 3 and 4 to where they can gain some ground, and Terry can't pick up their draft and go by him before the finish line.
Chris Carr hoping that Rich King is going to chase down the leaders for him here, and I guess Carr and Coolbeth and Pegram are doing the right thing by not racing each other, rather just letting the 4-bike draft try to get up there and join the front 3.
Well, Chris is not doing anything to slow down Rich's momentum to get to the front, but they just haven't been able to suck up there in draft, and they're really not that far behind, but they just can't seem to pick up the toe.
Maybe 10 bike lengths difference between the back end of Joe Kopp's number 43 and the front wheel of Rich King's number 80. Getting a little closer, though, as the laps start to wind down. Kenny Coolbeth on the other Corbin bike back there in 6th.
Looks as if right there, okay, Will was able to come from 3rd to 1st, but he still couldn't get there by the start-finish line. So Will's been doing his testing.
That little head shake doesn't seem to be bothering him. He's just taking it in stride. Joe Kopp with a little extra lean and hang off there, and he's lost some ground to Poovey and to Will Davis.
Joe got a little sideways off turn 2, and he looked back and seen they had a little bit of a cushion between Rich and Chris back there. So now he can put his head down and see what he can do to get in between Chris and Will.
Coming up on the final lap here at Springfield. Larry Pegram just hanging on to the back after he did such a great job of catching those guys.
Joe Kopp was able to stick it in the turn 1 underneath Terry. Now Will's got a real good run and a good 10 bike lengths. But also, watch the line Will's taken down the back straightaway to the extreme inside to where they have to pass around the outside. And sorry, Joe, not enough room.
So Will Davis holds on to the lead going into turn 3. Coming out of turn 4, he's still got the advantage. They're a bit far back, but the draft is huge here at Springfield. Will Davis running as hard as he can to win a mile, and he's done it. Will Davis has finally picked up a victory on a big track, and it's here at Springfield in the richest dirt track race in the history of the sport. Yes, Will Davis, you have finally won on a mile track, and it is here at the Illinois State Fairgrounds.
With the accident that Will had earlier in the season, playing softball of all things, and then to come back and win the richest race, that's phenomenal.
It is indeed, and we'll hear from him in a moment. AMA Grand National Racing is being brought to you by Screaming Eagle Performance Parts and the Harley-Davidson Motor Company. And by Progressive Insurance. Call 1-800-FLAT-TRACK for a quote. Every quote sends another $1 to the Grand National Point Fund. Well, the fans have settled back in their seats, but they were standing a while ago. Quickly downstairs to J.B. Norris with Terry Poovey.
Tell us about your run today.
Oh, it was good. My brother's got these motorcycles running so good, all I got to do is sit on top of them and turn the gas. We got them working good, and I just had a good time.
Poovey started first, finished third behind Will Davis and Joe Kopp, both of whom finished ahead of 5th place Chris Carr. Here you can see the rest of the results. The old Warrior Jay Springsteen in 9th and Scotty Parker no better than 12th. Let's go back downstairs right now. JB and Joe Kopp.
Joe, you're having one whale of a weekend, young man, and I thought you had a chance to win that one.
Yeah, I am having a good weekend. Like I said, I thought I had a real good chance of that win, especially going into turn 3 the last lap. Davis was in front of me, and I knew I wasn't going to beat Terry to the start-finish line, but Davis was in front of me. I thought, do it like he did every other lap, and he kind of tricked me, come out of turn 4 and drifted right down to the bottom, and I didn't get to draft him really until about halfway down the chute here, and it was just a couple feet short. And it was a good day, though, for us. I mean, I wanted to be on the box all 3 nights, and here we are again tonight, tied for the points lead.
That's exactly the way it is. Carr came in leading, goes out of here 2 points down. But the guy that won it here today is downstairs with JB, and he's having a hard time hiding his emotions.
I tell you, Springfield Miles, the epitome of our sport, no doubt about it. It's unbelievable. And come here with all the Hall of Famers, Sammy Tanner here when I was a little kid reading Cycle News, and just dreaming of today, you know, that I'd even be mentioned in the same breath, him and George Roeder and all the people that's been put in the Hall of Fame here today and last year, and be able to stand on top of this box and receive a Hall of Fame trophy, you know, it's just unbelievable to me. And it couldn't happen a better year, you know, just everything's been so good this year with Mike Wheeler and Pat Maroney with the 1-800 Fast Hog, Maroney's Harley-Davidson team. John Flack stepped up with Gold Directors and has built us just, I mean, it's like Christmas every day around there. We can open up a new motorcycle anytime we want to, and that guy's just, he don't even want me to thank him, but I'm gonna do it anyway, John. We love you, baby. But, you know, this is just unbelievable. You know, I knew I'd get to this point, but, you know, it's just like you said, it's a dream of mine to come here and win this race, and I try to put it off every time you ask me and say it doesn't mean that much, but it means a lot.
It'll mean a little more because Will Davis also collects the Yuasa Hard Charger Award for winning the race and for being the guy that made it all happen here today. Congratulations to Will Davis and to Joe Kopp for their co-lead in the points championship, and my thanks to my colleagues J.B. Norris and Steve Moorhead. Thanks to all of you for joining us. I'm Brian Drebber. So long, everybody.